appointment of Antonio very seriously. He knew he had to find a replacement for Alex. He actually met with him, interviewed him to ensure that he wanted to appoint him to finish out Alex's term.
Thank you. Is everyone clear? Do you have any other questions, comments, concerns about these changes? I was trying to find the email where it listed out everybody's district, just so that everybody's fully aware of what they represent with that redistricting that happened. Do you have it available, Ms. Bannister? If not,
I do not have that available of when that happened.
I believe I have it, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Attorney.
I don't have the name of the person. I'm just going to say the number of the street. 250 is District 5 now. 250.
50.
The street address. So Desmond, you will be District 5. 2118.
It's me.
That's District 4. 1010. Anybody 1010? That may have been somebody who came off of the board. 709.
Can you bring us sync up with the budget?
That may have come off the board as well. 357. 357 is District 2.
I thought so.
Any other questions?
Well, clear there's no action for that item. We'll move on to.
Or go that one again because I got thoroughly confused.
So now you had one at
Yeah, I
three.
don't know anyone's address. So let's start from top. District 1 is vacant. District 2 now belongs to Craig. District
3 is vacant.
is vacant.
4 is vacant. 4 is vacant.
4 is Aquila.
5 is this. 5 is this.
5 is this one.
All right, next item, Ms. Bannister.
Next item on the agenda is item B, general updates by ethics administrator. Good evening, board.
Good evening.
I just have a few updates. The first one on my list is ethics training update. So as of March 6th of 2023, 965 county employees have gone through the ethics training at this point. We have 5 more training sessions, days left, with the last session being at the end of November, and that'll wrap up our entire training for the 2023 year. So we will not start that again until next year. My second item is community outreach. I have scheduled to visit businesses on the square on October 16th and visit businesses in Stockbridge area October 18th. So I'll be handing out brochures and our business cards and swag and stuff, and just introducing ourselves to the shop owners around the square and in Stockbridge, where there's more Latin American businesses. So I'll be going visiting them. My next item is the trick or treat on the square is scheduled for Friday, October 27th from 3 to 5. We will need volunteers to set up, and setup starts at 2 o'clock. So if any of you can volunteer to be able to help us out to get our canopy and chairs and tables to the square and help us set it up, we would appreciate that so much. As of right now, the board members have donated about $110 for candy, which I've already purchased some that's behind you guys at Sam's. But if you'd like to donate any candy or donate any money, just let me know, obviously before the 27th, so I can go purchase that and make sure we can hand that out. So if you'll just let me know after the meeting who can volunteer to help us set up and transport everything, I'd appreciate that so much.
What time are you expecting setup to happen?
Setup starts at 2, so if whoever's gonna volunteer can be here at the office, I'd say by 1, so we can get everything loaded and moved to the square.
Do we all have something loaded, or you guys, I have a truck.
If you don't mind. I mean, it was just the canopy, the table, and just the candy, some swag stuff, but that's about it. My next item is for the Zoom. So I did email the county manager on September 14th to follow up on our office gaining Zoom access. I know she's kind of been really busy and she's been out of town a little bit. So I'm still waiting to hear back on that. I have not followed up with her yet, so I'm kind of giving her a little bit of time to get back to me. So I do not have any substantial update on that. Power DMS is my next update. I've spoken with Holly and I'm just waiting on her to confirm our training and form folders have been set up within Power DMS, so I can schedule training for both me and Attorney Buller directly with Power DMS. So I'm just waiting on her to confirm that we're set up and we're ready. They've already set up our folder, but we have like subfolders that need to be set up for us to start our training. Is there any questions about that? So my last update is on the open board positions. So I had HR post the open board position and it went live on July 7th, the first time, and it ended on August 11th. Once all applications and supplemental documentations were received in our office on August 21st, I proceeded to verify all applications, all applicants resided in District 1 because that was the district that was open at that time for Ms. Sharon stepping down. So I forwarded that information to the elections department, which is Ms. Amika Pitts. They verified that most of the applicants did not live in that district. The ones that did, we're still waiting on supplemental documentation to be submitted. So I've reached out to them via phone and via email to inquire if they're still interested. If they are, then they need to submit the supplemental information that we need to move forward to the next step. So unfortunately, let's see, I spoke with Bashara at HR and requested she open the position again after most of the applicants were disqualified because they didn't live in the district. That was on August 28th. I sent her a follow-up email around September 14th to inquire to see if any other applications had been received. I never received a response back from her. So on the 27th of September, I called HR to speak with Ms. Mashar. They in turn directed me to Ms. Callie. So I don't know where the miscommunication happened, but the position was never posted on August 28th like it was supposed to be. So Callie has posted it last week. It's been posted. I checked with her today, and as of today, there's no applications that have been filed. But she's supposed to be getting with me every Friday from now until positions are filled to make sure that she stays in communication with me. But as of right now, no other applications have been received. So I'm waiting on supplemental information from 2 candidates that are in District 1, that live in District 1, but we can't move forward if we don't get the supplemental information. So right now, it's just up in the air. It's kind of open at the moment.
So the re-advertisement is for 1 and 3?
Yes, like in the advertisement, it doesn't say what district. Once the applications come in, then it's my duty to make sure that the applicants live within the district, because for whatever reason, it's just kind of like a blank form that they put on there, and it doesn't say, they have to tell you what district they live in.
Are we looking at the ones that were disqualified the first time in District 1 to see if they fit 3?
I am going to do that. I am going to go look through those and see if they live in that district. If they do, then I'll, send an email and see if they are willing to, if they're still interested. Because one of the biggest questions I've gotten is how much does it pay? And it is posted and it does say non-paid, unpaid position. It does say that on there, but a lot of people, miss it or don't see it. So that's one of the biggest questions I've gotten is it paid, and what are my benefits if I join the board? So those are the 2 questions I've been getting the most. But so as of right now, she will update me every Friday until the positions have been filled. And that's the end of my update.
I just have one question. What percentage of the employee population have been trained? And they said 940 something. What does that represent?
So actually 965. I will tell you, we just have one big department that has not been trained, and that's probably about 430 employees.
My department.
What's this?
And we do have, now keep in mind, we do have 5 more training days left. Well, actually, 2 classes. So 10 training classes left. So there's still some employees that are still trickling in. Plus, we're getting all the boards that are also required in the field to take the class. So we still have a couple training classes left. I really won't know the total number we've trained until the end of November.
So even with that, because there were issues with the fire department before scheduling, but you were able to successfully do the police department, right?
That's correct.
Did you do any with the fire department?
No, as of yet, no. We've, after our meeting, we've reached out. They promised to give us the schedules for each firehouse, the address for each firehouse, and a contact information for the person over each firehouse that we could get a hold of to schedule us coming in early in the morning. Because we said, what, 7? We could be there at 7 o'clock in the morning to do it. We have not heard that.
They had a big town hall. I didn't go to it though. Right. That was the time to bring it up.
Okay, well, let us know what points of escalation you need. We will follow the way we need to.
I'm gonna talk about this, but okay.
Okay.
That is all I have for the board tonight.
So,
All right. And one last thing, with the training, if you can represent that in percentage of employee population that has been trained, I mean, it's easier for me to be able to just ascertain how many folks have actually been trained.
We have time to train about this already. And it's about 80%.
Okay.
About 80%.
Oh, that's good. That's good job.
That's really good. So that sounds, that feels better.
It feels
you
better.
know? Okay, great job, lady. All right, next agenda item.
The next item on the agenda is item E, and that's general updates by the ethics officer.
good evening, board. You may hear a couple of echoes from Gloria because we tag a lot, so some of the updates I had as well for you all. The general updates involves the ethics training, generally our community engagement disclosures, as well as the case updates. The first thing is the ethics training, kind of piggybacking off of Gloria. We have completed since our last meeting, elections, development authority, and the hospital authority. So all of those have been done. I don't know if you all follow us on social media, but we do try to take pictures and part of our community engagement, let people know we're out here, we're training, what we're doing, when we're doing it, giving them tips and things of that nature. So if you don't follow us, please, please, please do so on Instagram and Facebook. But those are the trainings that we have conducted just since our last meeting. As Gloria indicated, we have done about 80%, which is great. Because when I talk to our counterparts of Fulton County and DeKalb County, I don't know about Clayton, they're not getting those as high of numbers. Now, granted, you know, people are always coming in and people are always leaving. We still have to work on the system as it relates to getting new hires when they're coming in the door. But it's very difficult right now just because, as you all know, we don't have an HR director. We have an interim director. Our former director is now the county manager in Newton County. So until we can probably get somebody in there, let them get settled, they'll kind of be in limbo. As it relates to the general trainings, as Gloria just mentioned, we had some scheduled for October the 10th and 16th and 18th. They have been doing renovations in the community room, so we just had to cancel all of those. But what Gloria did was she coordinated working with Parks and Rec, and we're going to move the 18th to Heritage, the 18th to Heritage Park, and the 25th. And we just switching some times around so we can still get people in. So now we have those as well as 2 dates in November as our catch-all dates. I did reach out to the county manager and the cluster leads who were very, very receptive. The county manager sent out a blast email to all the cluster leads, if you have not gotten your people in, get them in. You all gotta take it. I want you all to take this specific date, this specific time if you haven't. So she made sure all of the leaders knew, get on your staff. If they haven't gotten trained, they need to get trained. Now, we are making a little exception for 2 departments. One is Parks and Rec. We are working on the virtual platform for them because Parks and Rec, they have transient people. They have people who come do camps, so let's say for winter break for people. Those are the college students coming home working. Well, it's very difficult to get them in on training when they're only working for the county 1 week. Same thing with elections. Next year is going to be a very, very difficult year. They start training every day, I think 3 times a day, beginning in January because of election. And so we are working with the county for a virtual platform. Power DMS, as Gloria indicated, we now have access to it. We just have to set it up. I've already spoken to Kevin in the communications department who will produce the video for us. Now we just have to verify, and I kind of need some guidance from the board because it's, given the system that we have with Power DMS, there's no way to have it monitored. So people can essentially let a video play and just click, I took the class. I spoke with Holly to see, hey, what do you all do with the county? It's pretty much the honor system. She said we can't micromanage adults. And so that's the platform that has been given to us for us to use. We just, if we're gonna take advantage of that platform, that's just, it's how it has to be. So before I know the board, we had talked about different companies and making modules where they have to actually click through, making sure they're paying attention. Power DMS does not allow that.
Questions, comments, or concerns? I mean, for me, you know, you can't monitor it. However, should something happen, at least you have documentation that they've been trained, whether they watched it or
That's what I
not.
was thinking too, sign off on it.
Right, right. I mean, we've done our due diligence by offering the training in some type of platform, so.
You can always offer a mandatory in-person for the first training and then each renewal year.
And I think the board had talked about that as well.
Let me ask you, is Power DMS necessary for us to use, or we use something like Survey Monkey or something like that? And the only reason I say that because I just had to do a training with full-time for Survey Monkey, and we had to take different classes, and the way they kept tabs of how we took to actually watch the video and answer a couple questions afterwards. Being, of course, had to sign out the partner and everything. So is that an outlet that we possibly use?
It probably is, but the problem with it is one, Power DMS is free to us.
Okay.
The county just had to add 2 licenses. And the quotes that Gloria was getting for the system was upward of what? $30,000. If it's something with Survey Monkey, one of the concerns we had too is when people need to take it again, some type of automation to tell us, hey, these people, they're almost like certification or their training has expired. So we needed some type of tickler in the system, and that system had to be connected to the employees.
And if I may. So when I spoke with Power DMS, that was one of the things I asked them. We want to make sure that they're doing something to know that they're actually taking and watching the video and listening. So if I recall correctly, she told me that that was possible. So I will reach out to Power DMS and just double check that information.
And it could be a matter of features because when Holly said that there was no way for them to do it, our county just may not have that feature that they can do. Maybe it's like an add-on or something. Yeah, plug-in. Thank you. That's the right word, plug-in. So that's kind of where we are on the trainings as it relates to departments. We do have a couple that have not taken the class, that have not been, I'm not going to say non-compliant just because we have more classes. So they still have the ability to do so. We still have or I am still of the opinion that once we finish our classes in November, we should send out a letter to the county manager and say, hey, these people or these departments are not in compliance with Senate Bill 22. They have not taken the class. They have not gotten their ethical training. And then I think that is kind of, the board has done its due diligence at that point. Any questions on training?
Do y'all think we need to send them something before it's over, like 45 days, just to notify them, like, we come up within 45 days, and these are the people that haven't been trained? Just so they won't say we waited to the end process.
And then we thought about that too. And the thing that I kind of felt was the easiest was to hit the cluster leads. Because if we put the onus back on them, it'll take us a lot of time to figure out what individual people have not taken it. We'll have to go through, Gloria has a stat probably this high of sign-up sheets of people that has taken the class. So we'll have to go through all of those and verify against every roster of, are they still in the pool? Have they taken it? So my solution was to send it to the cluster leads and say, look, you all know, or you have a better way of knowing who has not taken it, because you can speak to them directly.
But in the future, we would have our DMS and that would be able to notify.
It'll be more systemized.
Okay.
Any other questions on training? Gloria has already talked about the trick or treat on the square, so I'm not going to talk much about that, but that is what we're doing. Try to get some more community engagement. I'm still surprised at the number of people that still don't know we exist. So I think this would help. I did see today actually that the Christmas parade is coming up. I don't know if the board is interested in doing some passing out our flyers and the Christmas parade, but that's something we can look into as well.
Parade means walking cold.
Meaning walking to get warm while it's cold. Any questions about the community engagement? The last thing is disclosures. We found an error on the website. I had got notified that someone had filed a disclosure, but I had not gotten it in my email. So what we figured out is they weren't coming through. So it looks like a disclosure that was submitted that the board will have tonight was submitted August 29th, but it wasn't sent out until September 8th. That's because they weren't getting pushed through. So we worked with our host and we got it fixed. We were able to pull everything from the back end, so we didn't miss any disclosures. We got even all the test disclosures we were trying to get pushed through. The only thing we had not gotten was the one that the board will be addressed today. But I did want to let you all know that was a glitch in the system, but it has been fixed. And that's all of the general updates.
All right, thank you. Please proceed with the next item.
The next item on the agenda is item F, presentation and board discussion of disclosure 2023 DC1, Angelo Cartagena.
Just so the board will know, I will refer respectfully to Mr. Angelo as Mr. Angelo, because I don't want to butcher his last name. But this is the first disclosure that I was telling the board that we received. Just as a reminder, when there's a conflict or an interest, I won't say a conflict, when there's an interest with an official or an employee, they have to disclose that to the Board of Ethics. Depending on what type of interest it is, if it's contractual, then they will have to disclose that not only to the Board of Ethics, but also the Board of Commissioners. So that's why this is before you today. So I want to remind you all of why we're even going through it. According to the code, it defines the interest as having any pecuniary or material benefit. So it's something that as a result of a transaction from our Henry County, the individual gets something directly, indirectly, but they have an interest in it. The code also indicates that any employee has an interest in something if there's 4 things that's involved. The first one is if it involves the employee or official's immediate family member. The second one is if there's a business or there's some type of contractual relationship that's involved with that individual as well. That's a little bit of what we're focused on today with this disclosure, as well as the third one. If there's any business in which the official or employee is a director, officer, employee, shareholder, or consultant. You'll see that as well in any person. And I'll just back up because you'll see an official or employee shall be deemed to have an interest in these things. So the code has already defined for you that if it involves these 4 things, then the employee already has an interest in it.
So either or.
Yes,
It's not
ma'am.
all four.
It's either or. The disclosure you all have before is with Mr. Angelo. So the board will know we do have Mr. Angelo online as well. He is here if the board has any questions after going through the presentation, but he is available. Mr. Angelo works in fleet services. He has a business called Moonwalk Rentals 2. He is registered with the Secretary of State. The purpose of his business is to provide inflatables to consumers. For our purposes, he does provide the county with rental services that include inflatable obstacle courses, slides, activity centers. Whenever you see the county having things like, and I'm not saying he has done this, but back to school things, then the county may want inflatables for kids to come out and jump and play, or football inflatable things of that nature. It values from $1,000 to $4,500, depending on the type of things that they would like to rent. In addition to that, he provides the staffing for the events. He made his disclosure on 8/29/2023. This is basically a little bit of the website and the services that he provides or has the ability to provide as well. The board has the obligation to consider, I believe the code says the propriety of the interest. So basically, is there going to be a conflict of interest, and advise accordingly. A couple of things that I want the board to consider as well is Rule 3.1 or 3.11, which is participation in contracts. That says that Huron County shall not enter in any contract involving services or property with an official employee of the county or with a business in which an official or employee of the county has an interest. So that itself is a rule. It prohibits the county from doing this particular thing. Now, there are a few exceptions to the rule, and those exceptions include if there is a bank or trust company as a depository for county funds, borrowing some money, if the county needs to borrow money and the employee had a bank and that bank had the lowest APR, had interest in the bank. If there's a contract for services with a business which is the only available source for such goods, or the last one is basically what I call an act of God. If there's an emergency situation and the board needs to contract with them. I highlighted the third one because that's the one that's most applicable. When I did speak to Mr. Angelo in this regard, he did make mention that his goods are his services are unique. That what he provides are more inflatables, like that maybe you wouldn't get anywhere else, like some football inflatable things. So that's why I highlighted and underlined that portion for you all.
Okay.
Again, it's the board's duty, and this is where I turn it back over to you, Madam Chair, to give an opinion as to the propriety of such interest as it relates to this disclosure. Again, Mr. Angelo is, I believe, still on Zoom if the board had any questions of him.
Any questions? Any comments, thoughts, anything y'all need clarification on? So that rule was 3.11, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
It's pretty clear to me. All right, so are we having to make a motion on anything?
The board has to give a decision as to what you all believe to be, if it is or would not have been a conflict. Probably would need to motion and vote whether or not it would be a conflict.
So for me, single source, this wouldn't be a single source item, in terms of bullet number 3 that you had. I don't know if you want to explain further why you believe this would be a single source business. Yeah, Mr. Angelo.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. Just wanted to inquire about why you believe your business would be single sourced in terms of the goods and services that you provide.
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for hearing me tonight. I believe the reason why my services are unique is threefold. One is that I provide unique inflatables that you can't find anywhere else, and that's arguable. Number two is I provide staffing. Finding a company that's going to provide the inflatables and the staffing is also unique. And also the third and most important is I bring in a $2 million insurance policy that exempts the county from any liability on any of the events that I do. So one is the inflatables, two is the staffing, and three is the insurance. That's why I think the service that I provide is quite unique. I don't know, I've been doing this for 13 years, and I don't know anyone, I know a lot of people, I don't know anyone that provides all three of those services.
So, Ms. Angelo, how were you approached about providing these services for the county?
That's an excellent question, sir. Thank you for asking that. Years ago, the county had another company doing the events, and I didn't apply to be a vendor because I initially thought there was a conflict of interest, and that's the reason why I didn't. I was called by the county manager, which was Sherry, who is the current county manager, and asked me why I was not a vendor. I was also told by someone that she was not happy with the service she was being provided from the previous vendor, very dissatisfied. And she said, let me check with the county attorney and find out if it's a conflict of interest or not. And I was told no, that it wasn't, that I could be a vendor. And that was that. And I've been doing the county jobs for maybe, I don't know how many years now, but yeah. And when I disclosed it at the ethics meeting that I went to, I was asked by the young lady that's speaking, I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name either. She said, did you get that in writing? And I said, no, ma'am, I did. So that was my mistake. So, but everything has changed now that we have a board now, and I respect your guys' decision.
So just for clarity, the rule that you put on there, that's a county rule about engaging with employees.
This is now a rule with, it's the ethical rule.
It's an ethical rule.
Yes, sir.
So there were no stipulations that were put in place with the county before he was asked to do these services. So there's nothing within the county policy or bylaws that says anything about an employee can engage in contractual services with.
That
County.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the county itself has a policy about contracting with employees. I just know our ethical rules pursuant to Senate Bill 22 now prohibits the county from having contracts with county employees. I don't know if before, and I will say, I would advise the board, I also spoke to Sherry in regards to this. So once I saw that 3.11 existed, I reached out, I said, hey, I can't give you legal advice. You may want to speak with your county attorney, but there appears that we now have Senate Bill 22. I'm not sure what was going on before Senate Bill 22, but pursuant to Rule 3.11, the county is unable to contract with employees or officials. Ms. Matthews indicated to me that she was unaware that Mr. Angelo was providing these services to the county, and that she would speak with the county attorney about it.
So Mr. Angelo does not have a contract, you said?
Ma'am, I'm under no contractual agreement with the county. The county's free to use wherever they like. They choose me.
Yeah, that was my question. Do you participate in any solicitations through the procurement department? Generally,
No,
unless you.
No, ma'am, absolutely not.
Yeah, okay.
They're very, very pleased with the service that I provide, is what I'm telling you.
So there's no written contract. It's all verbal communication with you all when it comes to your services.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Do you employ any county employees to work with you?
No, sir.
How often are you fulfilling this need for the county?
Please don't hold me to this, but I believe I do about 5 to 7 events for the county throughout the year.
Mr. Angelo, how are you paid? Do they pay you at the end of the event, or do they pay you every 30 days after you have done the event?
It's not every 30 days because I'm not doing that many events. It's after I do an event. Usually it's about a week after I get paid from the county.
Thank you.
I think the unfortunate part about this is that because you've been doing this for so long, and there has not been anything in writing, any policy stating how the county does business with its employees. Now that, as our attorney said, now that this Senate bill is out, it puts you in a bad position. I kind of feel bad for you, but honestly, you should blame the county. I think, to me, there's changes that have happened, and that's going to continue to happen. That's probably going to put not just you, but some more people out of business too, with the county. And I don't, it's an unfair thing for you all.
Is the county paying you or are the towns paying you? I heard you mention the word town.
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing. What'd you say?
Do you work just for the county when you do these things with the inflatables, or do this individual towns hire you?
Well, in the case that we're discussing now, it's Henry County Board of Commissioners is who pays me. Actually, to be specific, Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
Is Henry County your only source of this work?
Ma'am?
Is Henry County the only source of this work for you?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
But yeah, are they your primary account?
He said he do about 5 or 6 years, so.
Sir?
Never mind. You can scratch that question. You can scratch it.
I'm struggling a little bit because this talks about contracts and you don't have any contracts.
And then there's also so that is a general rule for you all to consider. And then there is that part as well.
The biggest thing is set precedent though, because the county should have a contract and they're not doing what they're supposed to. So the thing there is set precedent.
So the second rule 3.11 refers to the county. This rule refers to officials or employees. And it's saying that an official or employee has an interest in something.
Still a transaction.
Yeah, if it's a transaction or a contract, or if it's a business in which the employee is a director, officer, employee, shareholder, or consultant.
If you go back to rule 2, the word or separates, so it can be one or the other.
This one?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go back one more. There. County is seeking to do or does business within a county or whatever, has interests that may be substantially affected by performance or non-performance of officials or employees' official duties, or with whom a contract. So they don't necessarily have to have a contract.
And then these are separate bullet points. So like the first check is this is one interest, or the second one, or the third one, or the fourth one.
I think, Mr. Angelo, how are you?
Thank you, ma'am.
When you do business with Henry County schools, are you typically hired through the PTA and parent committees when doing business for like field days or parties or graduations and things of that nature for elementary and middle school?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Normally, when I do events for schools, it's normally the PTAs that hire us. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to recuse myself just in case you need me as an alternate, because I've hired him when I was sitting on council at Living Elementary.
We're going to like a recess or something. And have everyone just
Executive session.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't think it's an executive session item.
Let's go back. Everybody else.
All right, I'll entertain a motion if there's no more discussion.
motion that we move. Go ahead. Goodness.
I have one more question. When is your next event for Henry County?
That is a very good question, ma'am. I have an event for October 28th, which is a fall festival. And I have reached out to Henry County and explained to them that I have a meeting with you guys this evening, and that it's possibility they may need to find a second option in the event that I'm not allowed to do the event, because I don't want them to be stranded. That's a fall festival that they do every year. That last year we had about 4,000 people out there, 4,000 kids and adults.
I'm just curious as to how the county is able to do this without a contractual agreement, unless you're coming below the procurement threshold, which is generally about $5,000. So I saw 4,500 as your max range. Is that the max that you pay the county? You could say, I mean, the county pays you, yes or no, you make more than $4,500 on one event?
That's a good question. Yes, ma'am. I've never done an event for Henry County where it came in more than $5,000.
So how do you contact Henry County to solicit the business, or do they contact you?
I'm very sorry. The audio is not good, and that's on my side. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
How is the business solicited? Do Henry County contact you, or you contact them because you know the schedules are coming up because of your years with the county?
I'm always contacted by Henry County. I never contact them. I'm always available when they call. I've never reached out to solicit. I've never reached out to solicit business from the county since I started. I've always been asked by the county.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we can confirm that he has an interest, right? And so then that rule, go back to that rule again, everyone.
What department he working in? Mr. Angelo, what?
I'm sorry.
What was that?
Car.
And Madam Chair, just to clarify, these are two separate rules. So this rule is 22F2, and then the other one is another section.
And that's just defining having an interest, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think as the owner, and he is the owner, right?
Yes, ma'am.
We can conclude that he has an interest. So that's been satisfied. But 3.11 again talks about contracts. And I just don't know the county policy in being that he's fallen below the threshold for procurement to engage in a contract.
So it's a verbal contract.
It's no
The
different.
problem is a transaction. It's still a transaction. He's getting money taken from him, so. For services, right?
Right. And so that's in violation of 3.11.
No way around.
It wouldn't be 3.11 because that's really the county. The board has to make a determination, would the transaction be a conflict of interest? And this defines when an employee has an interest.
Substantially affected by performance or non-performance.
So we're deciding if there's an interest or conflict of interest.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Whether the code says an opinion as to the propriety of such interest.
Right, based on what we've seen today, I entertain a motion. I motion that based on the rules presented, there is a conflict. I mean, there is enough information to say that there's a conflict in terms of his interest in the business. But if you go back to that, I can read it directly how it is, based on item 3. Yeah. Any business in which the official or employee is a director, officer, employee, shareholder, or consultant, and this employee is the owner of this business. So receiving funds from the county based on this would conclude that.
I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah, you worded better.
Any other discussion? Yeah. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
We have to make sure we tell our county they can't do that.
How would
And
that?
just to clarify for the board,
We can't tell them.
the bill indicates that the board just has to give an opinion on it.
Okay.
I do not believe the board under the rule has the authority to tell the county what to do, more so of give them your opinion. Now, if an issue came up in regards to this direct thing, the board would have to proceed with the complaint as if it was any other complaint. But I don't believe the board has authority to tell the county that they cannot engage in services going forward, only that with the opinion that was given tonight.
Got it. Everybody clear?
In my opinion, that's a good point.
Okay.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I'm just gonna say it. Mr. Angelo, I want to commend you on coming forward to share what you do through the training that you received. Really appreciate that. I think that took a lot of courage for you to do.
I concur.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very nice to meet
It was
you.
Miss Bullard that encouraged me to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But when the decision is made, can someone tell me, because I'm having trouble hearing?
Yes, Mr. Angelo, I'll be in contact with you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for what you do, and thank you for listening to me tonight.
Yes,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item, please.
Next on the agenda is item G, a presentation by ethics officer on preliminary hearing update for case 2023 EB8, ethics officer versus Carlotta Harrell.
Thank you. If the board recalls, in August of 2023 EB8 came before the board. And those were, I'm going to briefly go over what those allegations were. We had the preliminary, or it came before the board based on a preliminary investigation. There was personal jurisdiction because it was against the Henry County Board of Commissioners. There was subject matter jurisdiction because there are allegations in regards to one of the 11 violations. The first one was activity prohibited by law. The person who remained anonymous claimed that the individual was violating law by using government funds for personal use. They also indicated it was inappropriate conduct by a member of the Board of Commissioners by doing the same thing. The factual basis is on July 20th, 2023. Henry County Board of Ethics received an anonymous report regarding Commissioner Carlotta Harrell. The report alleged inappropriate conduct by a member of the Board of Commissioners and engagement in activity prohibited by the law. Specifically, the reporter articulated that Commissioner Harrell uses county funds for personal gain through a private driver, inappropriate P-card purchases, and uses county employees' venues for her personal use. The reporter stated that the commissioner frequently calls the county under the purview of the county manager and issued directives. The board actually held this in abeyance and wanted me, or directed me, to get more information before making a determination on probable cause. What I did was I sent out subpoenas to the purchasing department, the technology services, as well as the procurement department. I received all of that information in, and I provide that to the board as well. You will see that we were able to get all purchasing records of Carlotta Harrell from May 2021 through August of 2023. We were also able to get the technology email correspondences between Ms. Harrell as well as the Holly between May 2023 and August 2023. I stuck with that time frame, one, so as not to go on a fishing expedition, And then two, because the complainant specifically said some action was taken with the website as it relates to the removing of information during that time frame. This is what I got as it relates to email. So out of that time frame, there was only about 3 emails that came from Chair Harrell to Holly. One was to provide a breakdown of positions of salaries of employees who received $8,000. As you can see, the county manager was copied on that email as well. That was on July the 10th. The second one was June the 2nd. That email was about liability proposals for the county, and Chair Harrell simply just asked, could she discuss that policy with them or the proposal. The county manager was also copied on that as well. And then the last one was on about May 15, when we talked about state guidelines with records and things of that nature. She did ask that something was to be used for contractual purposes, that prepare a resolution to bring before the board. She is talking specifically to Holly, which is now the interim HR. She was formerly risk management. She's still risk management. She's doing double duty, so I shouldn't say formerly. And you can see the county manager as well as the county attorney was copied on that. Ms. Holly responded and said, yes, ma'am, I'll work on this. The last one, oh, this is just a better version of what the request was. So all of those were the only email correspondences that were had in between that time. In addition to that, we received various P-card uses, purchasing order uses, things of that nature. We received over 600 documents of uses. I went through all of them, and in going through all of them, I could not find many things that were of concern. I will say, I will tell the board what I did find. I did find that on August of 2023, I'm going to see if I can drag this over for you all. Stop sharing. All right, so in August of 2023, I did find one specific thing, and it was for $4.33. It appeared to me that while at a conference, it may have been a purchase for a food item within the room.
You said $4.30.
It was for $4 right here. So $4.33. And it appears, and I'm speculating, it appears that there was a food item that was purchased, I guess maybe downstairs in the lobby. But as you can see, it was reimbursed. I don't know if that was one of the things where they charged the room mistakenly or something of that nature. But that was one of the things that I found. I didn't find too many things. The next thing that I found was, and you all please bear with me because I'm going to have to go between two screens right now. Was this. So the reporter also reported that Captain Baker was assigned to Ms. Harrell specifically, and that was the misuse of county funds. So the individual specifically indicated that Captain Baker was used to transport the chair to get special privileges, full-time armed security. The role of the chair was part-time and requires less than 40 hours of work, but that she used this personal detail to stay and accompany her when she has the means to basically drive herself. that this was an unnecessary expense of county funds, that this individual was traveling with her as well. And this is the only thing that I could find of any other individual. And it just so happened to be him. So let's talk about this for a second. Because my first question was, why was the state court solicitor individual having to travel to Texas for a commissioner's conference? So I interviewed solicitor T.E.A.M.S, and this person no longer works in the solicitor office. They're now with Homeland Security. But Captain Baker was a executive personnel company. Between 2021 to current, Chair Harrell has a temporary protective order. Well, it went from a temporary protective order to a 3-year protective order, and is trying to become a permanent protective order over a resident for threats of bodily harm, stalking, things of that nature. This is during the time frame of, or is still currently during the time frame of that TPO. My understanding after interviewing T.E.A.M.S is whenever an elected official, judges, commissioner, whoever it is, have threats against them, they do provide with details. So Mr. Baker, or Captain Baker, first started in the sheriff's office. He was assigned to commissioners in general. He has not, I did inquire if he works exclusively for Chair Harrell. She said that he does not, at least while he was under her. He's no longer under her. He was under her for about 6 months to a year, give or take. She said she may have been off because she wasn't able to pull up her records. But that he was also assigned to former chairman or chairwoman Clemens when she had a threat of violence as well. And that he doesn't do it full time. He has other duties that he has to do. I did inquire whether the assignment is seized the state of Georgia. She said, yes, a threat is a threat, whether it's in-state or out-of-state. The judges get it, everybody gets some type of security. So this was the only thing that I did find where this individual has traveled out of state over the last.
So when he travels out of state, does he even have jurisdiction to do anything? Or is at that point he's really a traveling companion, more like a bodyguard?
Like personal security.
Right, it sounds more like personal security. It's my understanding as well that the county in general is attempting to get a executive detail unit. So when Captain Baker came to the solicitor's office, it was to start this unit for government officials that need this executive protection. When they got to the solicitor's office, it came to be that may not be the best office suited for that type of detail. So he's now working with Homeland Security. But
it's federal. He makes it
Oh, so
federal.
he don't work for Henry County at all?
he still works for Henry County. I did ask that question.
They have a tech unit. They have units when they send people to different places
The
to
police
work.
department.
Correct. So multi-jurisdiction.
And so he was now moved. I did inquire as to why he was moved. She said, I didn't move him here. I didn't move him away. She don't know. But for her, that type of work made more sense with Homeland Security. So that's where he's working now. And the goal is still the same thing, to expand that unit. And she said they actually just have better resources because you need more manpower. Yeah, you need more manpower and things of that nature. And he's been there, transferred out for a couple of months, and that there were other people like Investigator Noble. I did inquire if any commissioner has ever called and requested detail or requested protection and was not provided that by her office. She said no. She's been in office, I believe, since 2018. And anyone who has called, she said now, there's some commissioners that specifically said we're good, we can handle our own. But every time that they have called and she's been notified about it, they've gotten the assistance needed. she did say that I believe his former Commissioner Clemens actually had detail outside of her house when she received a threat as well.
I think it's an uncommon thing. I think Henry is just trying to get to a level of like 14 neighboring counties, because that's common in the unfortunate.
Like the mayor of Atlanta,
Yeah, that's
24-hour security outside the house, that it's coming.
And I also was informed too, just by way of an example, Chief Judge Amero, he had it was a really, really big threat during the election. And he had 24-hour security for a while, because one of the questions I had was, how long is detail given? Is it, round the clock? Would it be out of state? Things of that nature. Because one of the things that the anonymous complainant alleged was that it was being used for personal, as if he was her personal taxi. And she indicated, no, if it's that type of threat, we don't always have the resources, but when we do have the resources, we provide it as much as we can.
I can see that it gives the appearance of that, but this person just doesn't know.
The last thing that I brought, or I
I
found
have a
that,
question.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, William. So is it normal, I understand like when you're doing protection within state, but when you travel outside the state, do you contact those officers or departments and coordinate security with them, or is it
It's
just?
not, I don't think it's that serious unless a serious threat is posed. I mean, just, what we call it, what we call it? Just, as long as we curse, let them know, hey, we're here. So just in case we need you, we just want to let you know, hey, we in your backyard.
Gotcha.
So,
It's coming.
yeah, it's coming.
The last thing that, in going through the 600 documents that I kind of had a question about was this one. So on one of the P cards for Chair Harrell was a registration for Commissioner Robinson. I just wasn't sure that why it was on Chair Herrera's P card, for Commissioner Robinson.
She was probably just recently appointed.
That's what I was probably thinking, and it was for an approved, registration for a seminar basically. So I will tell the board that I've gone through all of those documents, and out of all those documents, those were the only things that I found and could bring to the board as to this may be what the complainant is referring to. In addition to that, give me one moment, I'm sorry, I gotta. So that's as it relates to the purchase orders and the P card usage, the allegations in regards to Captain Baker, things of that nature. I also conducted several interviews because part of the allegation was that Chair Harrell issues directives directly to employees, and a commissioner is unable to do that. So I interviewed Holly, which is the interim director of HR. I interviewed Meredith Butler, who is the communication. She does the websites. I interviewed Mark Ammerman, who's the former chief of police, and Mr. Harold Cooper, who's the former HR director, as well as Mr. Jonathan Penn, which is director of Parks and Rec. I did not interview Mashar Sharp, who's I have not been able to get in contact with her. As Gloria mentioned earlier, she hasn't returned her emails. I don't know if she's out on leave, but I wasn't able to get in contact with her. I also did not interview Jonathan Burnett, who's the Henry County Fire Chief, because initially the complainant said that directives were given to him as well as Parks and Rec as well as HR, but then later came back and said, well, I'm not really sure about the chief of fire, so I didn't interview him. Based on all of my interviews, the summation of it is all of the individuals indicate they have never received any directives from any commissioners. When I ask my questions, I don't ask specifically, did you receive this from this one? I ask very general, open questions, and they have not. I will say that one person in saying that before they came to their position, they heard of things of that nature, but when they got to their position, it didn't happen and it stopped. So they hadn't specifically never been asked or given directives of any commissioners. And all of their directives have come from either the county manager or their superiors.
Is that person still in that position?
That person is no longer in that position.
Okay.
Another individual that I interviewed said when they came up, so one of the allegations as well was that the commissioner uses the Parks and Recs venue for her personal use. When I interviewed the director, Mr. Penn, he said he came in his position in 2020, and one of the first things he did was implement a form that all commissioners have to fill out if they want to use any type of facility. And he made sure that it's not for political reasons, it's not for personal reasons. At least that's what, the paper will say. Now, of course, he can't control what's inside the building on the day of the event, but he ensures that's his way to monitor and make sure it's not being used in conflict of the way it should be. So none of the people I interviewed indicated that they had received directives from the commissioners or any of the commissioners.
So they can still use it for personal use if they pay for it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If they go through the proper steps of any other person or employee.
Right, okay.
That concludes all of the updates as it relates to this case. The board would just have to decide whether or not there is probable cause, and what to do going forward. I'm trying to make sure there was nothing.
Did the complainant give any specifics?
Yes. So the complainant gave a lot of specifics, and by way of an example, the complainant, because they're anonymous, I'm gonna just kind of water it down a little bit, said that the chair directed the media department to do this to the website. That's why I interviewed the webmaster. And they said on this day, the chair called this person in HR or in Parks and Rec and did this, which is why I interviewed both the director in HR and the director of Parks and Rec to ask them various questions. So they gave specifics, but the people I interviewed would be the people that they're saying received these things or did these things.
Entertain a motion.
I make a motion to dismiss this.
Motion to dismiss by Vice Chair McLean. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Antonio Taylor. All in favor? Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous. All right, so I think that concludes the items on our agenda for public session.
Madam Chair, I have one thing left. I just have general updates for the cases. As you all know, we have EB2 or 2022 EB2, 2022 EB3, 2022 EB5. EB 2022 EB4 was consolidated in 2022 EB2. That is ready for a final hearing once the board starts that final hearing. As you all recall, John Doe versus Vivian Thomas was already scheduled, but that's on hold. 2022 EB5 is also ready for a final. 2023 EB9 is a newer case that we just got. It came in after this agenda had been somewhere in the middle. So it wasn't able to make this agenda, but it will be ready for a probable cause hearing next month. And that's it.
Okay, thank you both. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for legal.
Motion, we want to executive session.
Motion. Is there a second? Motion and second. I heard Cynthia this time. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. We're in executive session. Okay.